All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Freak Show. It is I, your host, Devin Eisert, and my special guest, Daniel. Thank you for taking the time to join the podcast.
Isaac, thank you for having me, man. I'm already a big fan. Watched your first episode after you sent it to me, so I'm excited to be here. Excited to chat with you again, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while, and it was actually funny because we reconnected like a few months ago, kind of just talking. I don't know what it was. I think it was a meme. It was like a meme or a video that you sent me or I sent you, and we're like, oh my God, that's funny. And then we just started boom, 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 talking and then like kind of reconnected.
Yeah, I think it was a video. I think it was a bit funny video I sent you, and then we ended up chatting like the rest of the day and just caught up.
And then we've been trolling each other on Instagram, saying that we're going to the gym. Like I'll be like, oh, I got going to the gym at 5, but then I saw your post. You're like going to the gym at 4:45, and then my next post was like going to the gym at 4:30, and then next thing you know, it was like going to the gym 10 minutes before Daniel does. I do like going on a.
And I think I won. I think I beat you, man, because the gym is in the garage, so I put a cot up. I sleep right under the squat rack, and then I'm like, I wake up in the gym. I said, where you at?
I'm just like, well, he got me fucking there. Speaking of reconnecting, I want you to tell the public and the group here on how long. So when you join the army, and how long you've been at your base, and who told you to, because we need credibility on this.
Yeah. So I enlisted in 2010, and I've been stationed in Fort Hood, now Fort Cavazos, Texas, since 2010. It was 13 years. May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. But so I'm going on 14 years, never PCS'd. And my branch manager actually labeled it unofficially as the longest consecutive time here at the Great Place in Texas for without a PCS move. So there's other guys that have had like more cumulative time here that have like PCS'd and then came back and have done more time overall, but I am the longest running unofficially that's never left. So cheers to
that. I'm gonna drink to that because you were my first team leader. I remember coming in there 2011, looking like a straight clown from the circus, and you took me under your wing, and we did nothing but have a good time, and you taught me all the ropes, and then here I am, going on 13 years, still in, and still crushing it, and still getting crushed. So it's been a long run. But I do want to talk about, I think it's one of my favorite memories was when we went to Austin. It was a 4-day weekend. I remember our chain of command was like, I'm sick and tired of seeing all you guys at the barracks. Like, go out and do something. You know what I mean? And they were just like, go out and do something this 4 days. Stop playing video games. And I'm just like, damn, calling all of us out. You know what I mean? And I forget there's a lot of people that went, but pretty much our whole platoon was like, if you're not in Austin, you're a square. So we were just like, pretty much the entire platoon went to Austin. Do you remember that time?
I do remember that.
I don't remember when it was, but I remember literally everybody was there.
I think that was 2012.
Yeah, it was before 2013. So it was 2012. So I was still fairly new and
you've been in the unit. You've been there less than a year.
Yeah, so I was fairly new.
Yeah,
I would have to look at the dates.
Yeah, but it's been at least 10 years, 10, 11 years.
Yeah.
Do you remember the limo specifically?
Oh my!
We rented a limousine and went to Austin.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there was like 15 of us. Random, it was just like, hey. It was actually, I think it was my idea, and I was like, hey, there's a limo. Or no, I think you or Tolan or someone brought up hey, we can get a limo here and we can just drive around in circles.
I brought it up because I was like, man, there's so many people. There's no reason for all of us to drive.
Yeah, we had our whole platoon there. Yeah, it was a lot of people.
Limo, we could roll up to Austin looking cool as fuck. So We got on the
Um,
internet, found the limo.
yeah. So it ended up being like what 40. I think it was like $40 each. We had the limo for like five
Yeah, it was
hours.
$40 each.
Um, so we started like I remember Kim Burrell was there.
Yeah, your brother was there.
There was like Martinez, and there was a couple other. I ran into Dilbo. I'm pretty sure at one point,
Was
and like
Churko there? I remember
yeah,
Churko was there.
Churko was there. I'm like, I remember they were like, Iser, yo, you're in charge of the hotel, and I was just like, okay, cool.
Yeah. So
Back
you were the
then,
hotel guy.
wow,
I
I was
was
the
the
hotel guy.
transportation
Yeah,
guy.
you
You
were
were
the
the hotel guy.
transportation guy,
We
and
we
like
had a cop order for this, if you
yeah,
remember.
yeah, I do remember now because everyone
Man,
was in charge of something, and I found a hotel, and everyone's like, "Yo, I found this one. It's like it's gonna be super expensive," and everyone like literally just like shunned me, and they're like, "No, get something cheap. Like I don't care if it's a little bit of a walk and whatever." I got a hotel 5 miles up north of Austin, right from Sixth Street, right. And I
yeah,
told him, it's like, hey, it's literally gonna be $25 each for 2 nights. And everyone's like, oh, that's good, man. Like, I'm down with it, blah, blah, blah. And we decided to carpool up there. So nobody checked the maps at the time, and nobody like they just put all their faith in me. We
yeah. There
got
was no
there.
map reconnaissance done. We trusted you 100%.
We got there. We had to bypass a freeway. We had to like go through this sketchy neighborhood. We had to like snake through like multiple like industrial areas just to get to Sixth Street. And everyone was
Yeah,
mad, like big
yeah,
mad. And it was
yeah.
so ghetto at the
It
spot
was
we were.
ghetto, but being in the limo made it better. It was bearable because I don't know if you remember, but I remember I asked the limo driver if he could drive us around the block. So, because he's like, well, I can't drive you on Sixth Street because it was closed down,
Yeah.
the nightlife. But like he drove us and like we circled around like Sixth Street like twice in this
Yeah.
limo. And then he pulled us right up to Sixth Street as far as he could go, and then he stops, and that's where we dismounted and we embarked on the adventure. But yeah, so the hotel, man, and we got to get to we get to the story a little bit later how we got back to the hotel afterwards
Oh
because
yeah.
that's a story. So,
So
but
I remember we were pre-gaming,
mhm.
and I don't know who. I'm gonna have to look at all these pictures. I'm gonna
Yeah,
have to
there's
look
a ton
at
of
them.
pictures.
But someone bought a large excessive amount of limeritas. You remember those little tiny cans? So
Yeah,
we were drinking those, and those
I
are
remember
pretty
that.
rough. So I remember drinking those, and I remember when we got in, and we were like, hey, let's go to Whataburger. Remember that when he picked us up, we're like, yo, we got to eat something, and we're like, yo, let's go to Whataburger. We pull up to Whataburger, and we get out, right? We dismount, and there's like a large group of people watching us, and we're making a scene. You know what I mean? Like throwing shit, fucking being loud and dumb. And they're like, damn, where you guys coming from? And we're like, oh, like down the street. And they're like, oh, you're coming from like out of town? We're like, no, we're coming from Austin. And we literally looked so dumb.
Yeah, we
I
were we were that obnoxious group of young soldiers
yeah, like they
that
were like they
invaded a Whataburger, and those poor innocent civilians were just like helpless.
yeah.
So, but
So I
but
remember
yeah,
yeah, so we got into we got into back into the limo, and like you said, we drove around Austin. It was blocked off and traffic was crazy. We were throwing limeritas at people on the street. Like we're like, "Hey, you want a drink?" And they're like, "Fuck yeah!" And we were throwing them at them.
we had so many.
Yeah,
We had
I don't know who bought like 5 cases. Like
we
somebody
had a we had a limo full of limeritas
we had
for
a
no
like
reason.
we had a Bradley full combat load of limeritas like at that point.
Oh, easily,
And
and the windows are rolled down on both sides. I
yeah.
remember, and as I'm like looking around because I was DJing because I was playing the music in the limo
Oh,
for
you
my
were the
phone.
DJ. I remember
I
that.
was the DJ, so I was like, "Oh, we're gonna play some music." And I look around, and then you guys were like chucking limeritas out the window like this.
Yeah.
There's got. I hope there's a video. There's got to be a video of that somewhere.
I got to look at my old computer because I would like to pull that up and look because I took all the pictures for everybody. And at the very end of everything, they're like, I'm very obnoxious when I take pictures, but in the
Yeah,
end, everyone's like, Isert, please send me everything you got. And then they're so grateful. So
yeah,
I'm still like that today. And I'm very happy about that. Okay. So and this was my first time in Austin too. And like,
that's right.
the second we hit the ground, like it was like some of you like older NCOs, you guys like went away, and then us Joes kind of went away. But then when I was in my group got split at a bar, and then I actually ran into you and I think like Martinez and Robles and Jimenez, And I was just
Yeah.
like, and you asked us like, hey, where's the rest of everybody? And I was like, oh, we lost the group. And you're like, well, I lost my group too. And we're like, well, we can just stick together and hang out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we
So
started with two separate groups, and then we lost our groups, found each other, and made a third group.
yeah.
Essentially, is what happened.
And then, and then we're like, hey,
And we
hey,
just rolled with it.
yeah. And then we just rolled with it. We went to the bars. We had a good time. And I remember we pulled out a bunch of cash prior too, because you're like, yo, if you pay cash, it's like 10 times faster than using a card and dealing with losing that and everything. And we think there was 6 of us in the group, and you were like, hey, we'll just take turns. I'll buy the first round, and we'll just do Coronas the entire night, so we're not mixing shit up and being dumb, because we're already fucked up off the Limeritas like hardcore right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. The 6 cases of Limeritas.
Yeah, I remember you juggling like 6 beers in your hands, like moving through the crowd, and you're like, "Damn, that was expensive. That was like $60." I was like, "Oh shit!" But then I did the
To
math. I
be
was like,
fair, I think I tossed like a handful of cash. Like like I think I gave them $60. I don't actually think I bought $60 worth of Coronas.
"Yeah,
I was like, because I remember I couldn't hear the bartender. She was trying to tell me how much it was, and the music was so loud, and I was already fucked up. So I was like,
yeah,
"It's $60," and I just like gave her $60.
yeah."
So that's what I remember happening, and then I'm carrying these like $60 worth of 6 Coronas back
So,
to the group.
and then we were like, all right, we're just gonna take turns, because then we'll have a good rotation. And then we're like, okay, so you're only spending $60, but then you'll literally just be getting however many beers it was or whatever when we went out. And
Right.
I remember that, and I remember I'm sitting there like this, and fucking Robles comes out of left field and thought it would be funny, and he taps my beer like boom. And you were like, you gotta chug it. And I put it up in my mouth, and I literally got blasted. Like everything's coming out my nose. My cheeks filled up. I'm just like, blah, like all over. And I remember that because my shirt got wet, and then it looked like I peed because I was wearing tan pants. And I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah, you had tan
son of a
pants.
bitch. Luckily, I
You
wore
had the
I wore that black
wet
California
paint
shirt. Yeah. Everyone's making
the
fun of
rest of the
me.
night.
And then someone was like, hey, no, none of that. These beers are too expensive to be thrown around like that. And we're like, all right, all right. So I was the only one that get fucked. But I actually got him back the next time when he bought his beer. I was like, smack. And then he actually like spun it, done some like cool shit. And he actually like didn't fuck up like I did. That was funny. And I remember, so we bounced through a couple bars. I got my ass handed to me at pool. And I remember we went to this one bar and we lost everybody, but I was hanging out with, I was like actually with you, and there's this group of girls, and you were like, yo, we should go talk to them, blah, blah, just go say hi and everything. And we're like, see if we got our game going. I was just like, oh yeah, sure, fuck it, why not? I know you remember what I'm talking about, and I want you to tell this story. Do you remember the old Austin High School?
Austin High School. Yeah, yeah. I don't remember which bar it was. We were in a bar, and we were sitting down with this group of girls, and I like struck up a conversation with this particular female, and she started asking me, like, what school did you go to? And I'm like, oh, I went to Austin High School, and of course I didn't. I'm from Kentucky, right? But she's like, oh, me too. Like, what was the mascot or whatever? And I was like, oh, it was the Tigers. And she's like, oh no, that wasn't the Tigers. And there was another question in there that I think I got right. It was like 3 questions that she asked where it was like
It was
same.
Mr. Johnson for the science teacher. It was
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah, that's right.
Johnson.
That's what I missed. She asked me who was my science teacher at the high school, and I said Mr. Johnson, and she's like, no way, me too. And then I was close. I was close to nailing it, and then I got it wrong with the mascot.
I don't remember that, but I remember she asking what the mascot was, and I'm just standing there like,
Yeah, pretty sure I said it was the Tigers.
yeah, like go Tigers. And she's like, no, it's something else. I'm gonna have to find that out later. But you said something. And she's like, no, because she's like, I only talk to guys who live in Austin. And you're like, oh, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, well, I went to Austin High School. She's like, oh, me too.
She's like,
Who
oh, we
was
can
the
actually
science
talk.
teacher?
And then she looked at me. It's like, what about him? And then you were like, oh no, he's an army. Well, he's an army. He's my friend. He's a loser. Don't talk to him. And I'm just standing there like, what the fuck?
I did do you like that. That was fucked up. I apologize.
Yeah. And so I remember that, and I was just like, what the fuck? But then they like blow us off and like, whatever, we're gonna have a good time. I remember us going out. We go out and we're like, damn, it's getting late, it's getting closing time. Like people are being rowdy in the street, and we're like, hey, we need to rally the force and get out of here, pop smoke. we all kind of link up. There's only half the group now, and everyone was just like, everyone's pissed off at me. It's like, damn, dude, we have a 5-mile walk. Like, we're going on a ruck march right now in the middle of the night through the entire city. But then we started walking and everything, and I remember us kind of like, we were sobering up by all the walking. So someone was like, hey, nothing bad. It was nice weather. It was like in the summer. It wasn't too bad. I remember us stopping at a Taco Bell.
Yes.
We're like, oh my God, the Taco Bell. We walk up to the doors. It was closed. We're like, let us in. And they're like, you got to go through the drive-thru. We're like, we don't have a car because our limo left. We walked through the drive-thru. We got up to the window and they're like, oh, you got to be in a car. And then I was just like, oh, we are in a car. We're in like the Krusty Krab mobile or whatever, or from like SpongeBob. And they're like, haha, no. And they're like, beat it. And we're like, all right. The dude behind us was like, yo, you guys want us to get you some Taco Bell? And we're like, hell yeah. And he was like, hey, what do you want? And then I was just like, I literally just grabbed whatever money I had left over. And it's like here's like, I think like $60 or whatever. It's like, just get us like 40 burritos or whatever and just like keep the change. He's like, oh, dude, awesome. I was standing at the exit, right? Because I thought he was going to just blow me off. But he ended up actually bringing me my bag. And he was like, here's like 38 burritos. I kept the change. And so we had Taco Bell. And I'm distributing Taco Bell to everybody as we're walking back. And we get back to the hotel. I remember us getting to the hotel and we forgot what room number we were. Because like
the best part about the Taco Bell story too is you standing, because I remember you were standing at the end of the drive-through lane.
Yeah.
You were convinced this guy was going to take your $60 and drive away, you know? So you stood there and you were like crossed arm, like trying to block this guy from leaving Taco Bell until he gave up the burritos. And then he like pulls forward and he like hands you like, I don't know, it was like 3 bags.
Yeah.
But there's like 52 burritos. Yeah. And then he drives away and then we're like eating burritos as we're walking our 5-mile hike back to the hotel. But yeah.
And like we got to the hotel and I don't really remember much, but I remember there was a bed. There was just one bed. And it was like a king size bed, but I just remembered like there was like 10 to 12 of us and only like I think like 5 or 6 of us made it back from the first wave. And I just remember drinking some more. We were on the balcony and we were yelling at the next hotel balcony people across. There was a pool. We were yelling at them to turn off their shit music. And they were like, yo, what? And they turn it up louder. And we're like, oh my God. It's like they're about to come down here, walk across the street and beat our ass.
And we're all drunk at this point.
Yeah, we're just all gone. And I remember
and stuffed with Taco Bell burritos.
Oh my God,
it was all bad.
We woke up the next morning and still had like 20 burritos left, and I was eating that. I had the worst stomach ache.
And somehow we ended up with a case of limeritas. There was still a case of limeritas left in the hotel room. So like, I don't know at what point we like. Someone carried a case of limeritas around all night after the limo left. I don't know what happened, but we had a case of limeritas still in the hotel room with like 25 burritos the next morning.
I'm not gonna lie, I have not had a limerita since then because I got limerita out.
I have either. Yeah, and yeah, I felt like death the next morning.
Yeah,
it was bad. It was all bad.
All right. That's going to conclude our episode of the Wild Adventure in Austin in 2012. That was a good throwback. That was you, as you started talking, I just remembered more and more stuff. But I want to thank you so much for coming by, sharing that. This is going to be a part 1 of a part 2 episode right here. So make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and click in the comments to see the next episode. So cheers.
Yeah, cheers, Devin. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. At least it's not a limerita.